The rocket on the pad exploded in a ball of billowing orange, and Elon Musk had something interesting to say. I'm Scott Ott, and this is Bill Whittle Now. And Bill, I'm still basking in the glow of last week's successful launch of the Falcon 9 rocket and the Dragon capsule, the successful docking of that Dragon crew capsule with the International Space Station, and watching the faces of Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley as they got on board the International Space Station and embraced two Russian cosmonauts and an American astronaut. And I saw a little thing, believe it or not, in Inc. magazine, the small business magazine, that just caught my attention. It's a quote from Elon Musk, who is the founder and chief of SpaceX, which oversaw that entire launch project. And he said this before the manned mission, the first manned mission to the space station from American soil in almost 10 years. Before that took off.
The first commercial one, yeah.
Yes. And before that took off from Cape Canaveral in Florida, he said this: "I'm the chief engineer of this thing, so I'd just like to say that if it goes right, it's credit to the SpaceX NASA team. If it goes wrong, it's my fault." Bill, as soon as I heard that, I had an echo of something that I heard a famous football coach say to me when he and I were alone in a room many years ago that was very much the same thing, which was, when we win, the boys did it. When we lose, it's my fault. And then it struck me as an aberration of, or an echo of something that you don't hear much anymore. And now it still strikes me that way.
And that football coach and Elon Musk's statement are the natural, almost knee-jerk reaction of actual leaders. And to me, probably the greatest case of that I'm personally aware of was the letter that Dwight Eisenhower wrote a couple days before the D-Day invasion, where basically he wrote a letter that essentially said, a letter in case it had been failed, that the invasion had been repulsed. And he basically said all the preparations were done. They couldn't have asked for better men, couldn't have asked for better soldiers. I'm the commander-in-chief. This responsibility for this catastrophe rests solely on my shoulders. He didn't have to send that letter, but the reason he didn't have to send that letter was because Eisenhower was a genuine leader, and so is Musk, so is your football coach. All people, there's a saying in business, and it's absolutely true, that A-rate talent hires A-rate talent and B-rate talent hires C-rate talent. And the essence of that is this: if you are confident enough of yourself to be able to admit that you're wrong, or to be able to admit that you might be wrong, and you have the confidence in yourself, your mission, your company, your employees, and everything, then that kind of statement comes naturally, because a team effort is necessary to achieve a thing like a successful space launch of a rocket that can return and land on its own plume of flame on a postage stamp in the middle of a choppy Atlantic. That requires a great deal of cooperation, and it requires the vision of Elon Musk. But ultimately, if it fails, everybody has done their best, and what failed was your vision or your management. He's right. The reason that SpaceX is going to Mars, and the reason that SpaceX succeeds, and much more importantly, at least on the surface to me, the reason that the Dragon capsule, which by the way, you'll be happy to know is not the Dragon capsule, at least not that individual Dragon capsule, that is now the Endeavour, which was named by Bob and Doug because both of their first shuttle flights were on board Endeavour, and they thought it was appropriate. So Endeavour is now docked to the space station. The reason Endeavour looks as good as it does, performs as well as it does, is because Elon Musk makes the decisions for that company and not an administrative board. And because of that, Elon Musk's sense of values is built into SpaceX. He famously said many years ago, failure is an option here. And to give you an idea of the self-confidence that Elon Musk has, in order to make a statement like the one that he made that you referenced, it would be good for people to do this. SpaceX produced, not somebody else, SpaceX produced a video called How Not to Land a Rocket. And it's nothing but a successive rapid cut sequence of all the times they tried to land the Falcon 9 on its tail with the landing pads, explosion after explosion after explosion after explosion after explosion after explosion. Sometimes clever little subtitles there, self-deprecating subtitles. But here's the company that failed and failed and failed and failed, putting out for the public under no pressure whatsoever a greatest hits of their failures. This is the essence of what self-confidence is. It is the ability to understand that if you feel that you can succeed at something, then failure is not your enemy. Failure is a teacher, and your goal, especially in the line of work that Elon Musk is in, is to do your very best. You know that you're going to fail. You know you have to fail. The Falcon 1 exploded a number of times before they got that thing off the pad successfully. And Elon Musk understands that there's so much about this process that we don't know. We can't know until we give it our best shot, and then reality will show us where we've made our mistakes, and we will fix the mistake that reality showed us on that time, knowing that there's undoubtedly more potential failures waiting for reality to demonstrate to us. And all you can hope for, if you're Elon Musk, is a sense of the balance between expediency and caution. In other words, pray that those fireballs that are inevitable, they are inevitable. If you're not prepared for the fireball, you're in the wrong line of work. All you can hope for is that through excellent management, excellent risk management, and the ability to keep an open mind and learn from your mistakes, all you can hope for is that the fireballs will not have people attached to them. That's the best deal you can get.
And in this particular case, that's the fireball that I was referencing. It was actually a rocket that they were testing for the eventual Mars mission that exploded on the pad with nobody in it. And Bill, we often think, we tend to see successful people in the light of their success, and they see themselves through the long journey from failure to failure to failure to success to maybe another failure after that. And the idea that a man like Elon Musk would say the night before that if it goes wrong, it's my fault. This is not just some CEO running some hotshot space company who's got a hotshot car company. This is the guy who is going to be knocking on the door at the Bankin and Hurley houses the next day if things go wrong, and weeping with the families.
And what you just said is so critical to this, because you're absolutely correct. If Bob and Doug, and I love how it's just Bob and Doug. Yeah. If Bob and Doug had died in that, and if the Falcon 9 carrying Bob and Doug had exploded, and all of the mechanisms for the Dragon escape capsule, all of that, if it had all failed, you are 100% correct. I haven't the slightest doubt in my mind, none, absolute zero, none, that the news would have been either broken to them, or the first person to contact the families would have been Elon Musk in person, in tears. He would not have sent the public relations department from SpaceX to handle this one, right? He wouldn't have sent human resources to handle this one. He would have done this in person. And that's why SpaceX succeeds. SpaceX succeeds not only because their goal is so worthy as to attract the best people in the world. By the way, Elon Musk, after the launch, said, we've been working on this for 18 years, and this is something I think all humanity can be proud of. That's the pool that Elon Musk recruits from, humanity. And for him to basically say, look, somebody is responsible for this. We're going to launch a Falcon 9 Heavy. We're going to take 3 Falcon 9s, strap them together, and send them up into space just to test the system. We got to put something heavy in the nose up there. Why don't we just put a slag of concrete that weighs a couple thousand pounds? No, I got a better idea. Let's put a candy apple red convertible Tesla Roadster. Let's fill it with a mannequin in our brand new spacesuits, and let's put the motto from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on the navigation screen. And when the fairing comes off, just at that moment, on the live feed, we'll play some David Bowie. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would actually be kind of cool. And that's why SpaceX has captured the imagination not only of the world, but of this generation, because Elon Musk speaks the language of the 21st century. His capsule looks like a 21st century capsule, and that's not an accident. In the same way that Steve Jobs said, this is what I want, put a camera inside this thing, put put all of my music inside this thing, put an internet in it, put a GPS receiver in it, put accelerometers and magnetometers and all the rest. And I wanted in something about that size.
And make it talk.
And make it talk on top of it. Elon Musk, when he was talking about the Dragon capsule, said, I want this, and I want it to be beautiful. Now, it's inconceivable that Lockheed or Boeing or Northrop would put anything other than a dummy weight on the top of their test rocket. It's inconceivable that they would play David Bowie. It's all inconceivable because they're giant businesses that are run by bureaucracies. But they weren't always. Lockheed was named after the Lockheed brothers, who changed the spelling of their name because nobody could pronounce the original spelling of Lockheed. And so was Cessna, so was Lear, so was Grumman, so was McDonald, so was Northrop, all of them, people. And as they got bigger and bigger and bigger, they became more and more corporate, big corporate. Not in the kind of sense that I like in terms of free enterprise. They became mercantilists. They began people buying relationships with Congress in order to get defense contracts rather than putting out a superior product at a lower price. And the day will undoubtedly come when this will happen to SpaceX. It's happening to Apple. It's already happened to Apple. The company that Steve Jobs founded is just not there anymore. And that's inevitable. But when you're in your flower, and he is certainly now, you have to appreciate what he's doing. Because what he's doing is an indication that his vision for SpaceX means that SpaceX, as his vision, will last for quite a long time by the standards of these things. Because Elon Musk, the day after launching the first successful commercial manned spaceflight to the International Space Station, riding on a wave of adulation and success. While all this is going on, the next day, the next model, it's not like an improved Falcon 9. Starship is an entirely different vehicle, is exploding out in the middle of Texas. And what that's saying is that all of the explosions that they put together in How Not to Land a Rocket are going on right now. As the Falcon 9 is succeeding, as those twin boosters come down from the Falcon Heavy launch and land at Kennedy, while all of this success is going on, which was the product of 15 years of failures and explosions, this guy, in addition to running Tesla and Hyperloop and all the rest, has also started a much more ambitious process. And he's not started it after the success. He's started it well before. And it is already going through those teething problems that the Falcon 9 had to go through before it achieved its spectacular success. That's a leader. It's not just a leader. You're lucky if the country has 3 people like that alive at any given time. The only person I ever knew who was like that is Burt Rutan, who did exactly the same thing on a suborbital scale. It was his company, his name, his people. He'd never lost a person in all the years he'd had it scaled. And during the Spaceship One launch, there was a tank explosion and killed I think 1 or 2 guys. And he was destroyed by it. He was really personally destroyed by it. These are his friends. And of all the things that impressed me about the Spaceship One program that put the first commercial astronaut into space, not into orbit, but into space, Mike Melville, his friend. Of all the things that impressed me about that program, and I think of all the things, because I've gotten to know Burt rather well, of all the things that most impressed Burt was a photograph of the Spaceship One team, which consisted of maybe 20 people. I mean, maybe. This is what Boeing would have dedicated to study the problem. And he got the first commercial space flight at the cost of what it would have cost Boeing to study the problem. And that's leadership. And when a person like that leaves a company, then the company begins its slow decline. And as much as I regret to say it, that's what happened with Apple. I think that's what's happening in other cases. And as long as Elon Musk is there, this company is going to do astonishing things.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're grateful to our friends, the members at BillWhittle.com, who've made this program possible, as well as to our buddies over at the Patriot Post. We'll provide a link in the description below where you can get their free email alerts and also a free copy of their Patriots Primer on American Liberty. I encourage you to get that. It's no charge, and obviously, as with all email alerts, if you decide you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. I don't think you're going to do that. I think you're going to enjoy it. And when you do that, if you're a friend of Bill Whittle, you're helping out BillWhittle.com a little bit as well. So thank you very much to everybody who makes this enterprise possible. For Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks for watching.